Run this as a great debate between two really smart people. So we're going to start off first with opening arguments, right? And then I will put on the clock 45 seconds each, and then we will go from there. So, Annalise, how much time do we have for this? I don't want to run over.
You got
20 minutes. 45 seconds on Kurt, why? Just give us your general 45-second pitch for why BSV is better than BTC.
When Bitcoin came out in 2009, most of the settings were policy settings, not consensus settings. That was changed over the course of about 2 years. So between 2010 and 2012, most of these things went from policy to consensus, meaning that fork off the chain if anything that people disagree with. BSV emerged from the Bitcoin situation in 2018 as a separate asset, but with the same database going back to the Genesis block, and restored that policy setting. Now, what policy settings here is that honest nodes, the people that are building blocks on the network, have the ability to compete with each other by using the policy settings of their node. So I run a mining pool. If I want to mine a 4 gigabyte block or a 10 gigabyte block, I should have the ability to without being punished by the rest of the network. I can fall off the network, but it's not going to split the network itself.
There we go. Good job, guys. All right, and now Kyle for BTC.
So 2018, a fork was done of the original Bitcoin, and they're trying to call it Bitcoin. And it's very different. The key to Bitcoin was decentralization. And in order to have true decentralization, we need to have very, very small blocks. You need to have a floppy disk that anybody on the planet can store the whole Bitcoin blockchain on. And that is critical because we need true decentralization. And without that, we would just have way too many transactions happening on the network. And if too many transactions were happening on the main chain, you would then need to have expensive, complicated layer 2 solutions and Lightning Network and all sorts of different things. Bitcoin, BTC, only one.
So the main difference between BTC and BSV is the block size, right? How many megabytes of data can this block hold? How much information can it hold? Now, what is the block size for BSV?
It is unbounded, meaning that if a miner decides they want to mine something that is bigger than has ever been mined before, they have the ability to. They don't have to ask permission of anybody else. They don't have to coordinate with anybody else unless that other person or pool can orphan that. Then it might be wise to call and say, hey guys, I have a client that needs 50 million transactions over the next 6 hours. That's going to be a lot of very big blocks.
So there's no limit to block size in BSV?
Correct. There is no protocol limit. There is the emergent limit that we will discover through competition.
What's the block size for BTC?
So Satoshi didn't actually define a block size in the very beginning. He defined a difficulty rate, but we decided that 1 megabyte was the block limit, and it should not ever exceed that. And then we made a SegWit fork, and we've increased it to 4 megabytes, all right? So we're at 4 megabytes, so it's basically 4 floppy disks together. And, okay, but that's crazy to think that you can have unlimited amounts of transactions in the blocks because it could just get out of control. And there's very powerful parties that want to make sure that we can control these secondary solution layers, and they put a lot of money into it, and they funded a lot of developers, and they kept a really core team together to assure that we have a very decentralized network of floppy disks.
So okay, question then. What would you say the main difference is between large blocks and small blocks?
4 megabytes maximum if you're using the specialty, 1 megabyte maximum if you're not, if you're using the legacy, versus his crazy blockchain where it's unbounded, unlimited. What if wanted to put a terabyte through there? That will not scale across the nodes all over the place. So you're not going to be able to have people running nodes on their speakers and on their old iPhones. So that's just not going to work like that. So we need to have small blocks for massive decentralization and more nodes. Are we going to encourage nodes? Yes, we're going to encourage nodes.
I'm going to take this mic and you guys got to share this mic because this one's mine. Okay? What's the difference?
So only economic nodes matter. If you're not going to build a block, you don't really matter in the first place. So you can protest. We've seen people with ordinals, for example, say, well, I'm not letting ordinals relay through my node. Yeah, but you're still going to download the block that has them in them anyway. So it's a little bit like, I've successfully protested, and you're cucked anyway. But the problem is that if there is a business demand for things, and we've seen this on, like we've seen $30 to $50 transaction fees on BTC over the last month because people want to use the chain, but then people leave because they're like, well, shit, this sucks. I want them to mint a cheap JPEG, and why can't they do this here? Well, you can do this. You could have done this on the Bitcoin main chain if it wasn't for the arbitrary desire to have lots and lots of nodes sitting in people's closets. Instead, this should be a commercial operation. Like Satoshi Nakamoto said, this ends up in data centers, and you could mint, for example, I have mined a 4 gigabyte block on BSV. Full of 3 million NFTs. The average fee was 1/7,000th of a penny per transaction, and that can scale up basically forever. The only problem is I need a lot of hard drives, but I'm a commercial business. I can afford hard drives.
Don't worry, we'll get to it. All right. So,
Good questions. Why can't Bitcoin mint more than 21 million coins?
Ask people top.
So wait, quick question then. So people explain the merits of scaling on layer 1 versus scaling on layer 2 with things like Lightning. You gotta share the mic because I'd like you.
So using layer 2 solutions, we can run unlimited transactions requiring just an extra layer of complications for the users, but we're going to make it really easy and everybody will ultimately adopt this because it's been so easy to understand how to use Bitcoin. So people will come about it. And then we can also do liquid network. We can use our proprietary software federated network that you must buy from a certain group in order to run your things on, and that's going to be secure and scaled for the world. No censorship, absolutely. Is this even on?
Yeah, DMX style.
Chip. All right, let's go.
Yeah, 2.
Layer 1 is significantly more simple. The only problem with layer 1 that people say is that people won't want to run nodes, but you shouldn't be running a node if you're an altruist anyways. You should be running a node if you can make profit running a node. This is capitalism. That's a capitalist system. If you all go back and say, well, we don't want to have simple development and cheap fees and reliable settlement times because we need to make sure that 50 million people around the planet need to run a Raspberry Pi in their house, then we're making decisions that are based on a problem that doesn't solve a fundamental problem, which is the ability for billions of people to transact in a way that you can prove. I hate layer 2 because what you're doing is you're saying second-class sats exist, that these sats don't matter as much as these sats, and so I'm going to put it on L2, which isn't even an L2 actually. Lightning Network is just a completely separate network. Separate nodes, separate security policy, separate system. It doesn't even need Bitcoin to work. And so you're sending sats over there while saying Bitcoin's the most valuable money in the world, but these sats don't matter. We're going to put these over here, and only certain people are allowed to use L1 versus L2, et cetera, et cetera. You're creating classes of citizens, and I hate that.
Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to let you answer this last question. I'm going to let you get the last rebuttal, which is unless you want to answer it first. But I'll let you move on here. And then I'm going to open up to the audience because you guys definitely have great do you want to rebut this actually first?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah? No? Okay. So last question for me, and then I'm going to open up to the audience. I hope you guys have great questions. There is a recent phenomenon that's going on right now called ordinals, right? Ordinals on Bitcoin. What do you think about that? Explain. You have 15 seconds, and I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond. What is ordinal? What's happening? And tell us.
It's a color coding token protocol on a permissionless network, and it's awesome because people should have the ability to do what they want if they pay the fees, follow the rules of the network. There are no kings in Bitcoin, and it really ticks me off when people keep trying to make second-class citizens out of people that don't want to follow the rules of others.
Respond. You have 30 seconds to go.
There was never a point of having ordinals on the Bitcoin blockchain. It is blasphemy. It should not exist. It should not exist. NFTs are a scam. They're meant for Ethereum, which is also a scam. All tokens other than Bitcoin are scams. And I'll be honest for a second, why I say this, that they're all scams except for this, is because I'm afraid. In my heart, I have a lot of fear about competition and that there might be things out there that are superior to what I believe, and I've put all my energy and I stood and I have this hashtag maximalist in my Twitter handle and I hang out with all my friends and we talk about it and we pat each other on the back, and it's not right to have ordinals, and it's definitely not right to have BRC20 tokens. This is all wrong. We must have a one world currency, and that must be Bitcoin, and it must be controlled by Michael Saylor.
Questions to the audience. You guys, we have 10 more minutes. Go ahead.
Why does the second class citizen thing apply to using the network but not verifying the network? Why are you not concerned about some users being second class citizens when it comes to verifying the transactions of the network, say to make sure that the 21 million cap is being enforced?
Validation should be competitive. It's an economic system. The people that have an economic investment in the infrastructure of the system have an economic investment to enforce the rules of the system. Because the more trustworthy the system, the more likely the person with a lot of investment is to get that investment back. So somebody that spent $1 billion on a mining operation, for example, is a lot less likely to attack that system than somebody who has spent $60 to spin up a Raspberry Pi to validate the system. And so the defense of the network is very capitalistic, but the use of the network should be egalitarian. Everybody should have access to use the network, users. But at the validation level, that should be competitive. I trust competition and capitalism at the validation level of the network.
Wrong.
Question from the audience. I can ask words. You got a question up there, Terry?
No. You asked already.
Okay, wait, Willie?
This is a small little question for someone. They said crypto is a wallet, not a currency. What would both of you say to that statement?
Crypto is a wallet, not a currency.
Someone who hasn't been on board yet.
Crypto is a wallet, not a currency. What would you guys? That's a good question to everybody. What would you say about that?
There's so much that needs to go in. Like people need to learn the basics of money, which really requires learning the basics about how humans interact. What you're doing is you're trying to enter into a relationship with people. So if you don't know how the technology works and maybe you don't know how people work in your life, maybe you need to work on that kind of thing first. But like the wallet is an interface into the tool. It's like you don't want to carry $50,000 in your pocket. Maybe you keep $50 in your wallet and you want to keep the rest somewhere else. But this is like a vocab lesson. So I don't know.
All right, I'll take off the play persona that I've been putting on for the last 20 minutes or 15 minutes and say, when we get to wallets, like wallets are the interface that we engage with these systems. It's critical that everybody has a wallet. If you don't have a wallet, you can't participate in this new economy. I wrote a book called The Unified Wallet, Unlocking the Digital Golden Age, exploring and explaining and prophesizing how when we become the true custodians of our keys, we can participate in decentralized, self-sovereign networks where we're in control of our money, our data, and our identity. So it's critical that instead of trusting in custodians for using this, like we don't want to just move from retail banks to crypto banks. We need to all have mobile wallets, understand hardware wallets, which if you're just new to crypto, don't buy a ledger. Don't start there. If you're going to buy a lot of crypto, yes, maybe. It's a vault. Most people on Earth don't need vaults for their money because most people don't have any money, is the truth of the matter. But we all have little bits, and we all have little coppers and silvers, and maybe some of us have some gold. And in the digital realm is the same thing, and we need to have mobile wallets. And I personally recommend Edge Wallet. It's one of like, the hot. It's really awesome, super wallet. It's easy to use, and I have been activating people with wallets for 10 years now, showing them how it works. If you go out for dinner with someone, ask them to pay using fiat, and you give them some crypto and set them up with a wallet and show them how it works. Because Satoshi did not intend to create digital gold. He intended to create a peer-to-peer electronic cash system that freed us from central bank dictatorship and authoritarianism. And we have that. But when we treat Bitcoin like a hodl, like a gold that can't be used, we're not truly realizing. Hodl your savings, spendle your checkings, and givle with love. Like, these are the three components that I like to kind of say. So thank you.
Amen.
So just following, we've got 5 minutes left. Yeah. We got 5 minutes. We're really good. You're completely correct.
So, Samson Mao is like a famous Bitcoin core developer. I think he's like a part of Blockstream. He famously had a quote saying, "Bitcoin is not for people who live on less than $2 a day." So now that we're seeing the fees in Bitcoin at over, $5, $10, $20, $30 for single transactions, what would you?
Yeah, it's no longer gold.
So do you
It's gold.
wait for BTC or is that
I know we're playing, and I mean, I got into Bitcoin. I absolutely love Bitcoin. I worked with the Bitcoin Unlimited group too, and looked at this options of scaling, and watched the block size wars, and watched all the forces in play. And what we have now is like, I don't love Bitcoin as much as I used to love it. I still love it, but I also like BSV. I also like Bitcoin Cash. You know which one I really love? Which one I really, really, really fucking love?
Tell us.
It's Dogecoin. Is DOGE, do only good every day. It's a memetic currency. It was a community that was created after shit in Bitcoin land got super serial and super lame and tribal and all about the money. So they created a new L1 that works and was fun, and it's all based on memetic shit. And Elon said, wouldn't it be ironic if it became a world reserve currency? And you know what? It is. It has come true. It works. I can buy an Uber anyways, I don't need to get, it's awesome. It's not a shit coin. A shit coin? No, it's not.
The question, because high fees are in all practical sense to so think about, there's 4 billion people on Earth that don't have access to the global economy. And if there's $30 fees for people that live on $2 a week, they do have access to this system that we created to liberate the world. Now, we talk about the SAC. You have 50,000 sats in a wallet. Well, if your fee is over 50,000 sats to move your coins, you don't have any coins. You have some taxes that you're allowed to pay to the system. And that also really sucks. And that is a specific design choice of BTC by people like Samson Mao, who said Bitcoin isn't for poor people, essentially. And what it is if Bitcoin is for poor people, it becomes easy to send easily. And if it's easy to send easily, you can front run and you can sell your coins. Coins that don't move easily are hard to sell on the market. And if you talk to the people about what are we trying to do? Well, we're trying to bring value to Bitcoin, which what they think is value is fiat price, which also is a little, not my thing. But if your goal is to pump the fiat price, you make it difficult to sell. And that was the point of all of this stuff. And you can, Samson I think he was like the chief marketing officer at Blockstream, so he's not like a nobody. Like it was his job to sell the vision. Talking about, yes, we want everything to make Blockstream money, and Blockstream makes money by selling solutions to fix Bitcoin's problems. By the way, we created Bitcoin's problems. So Blockstream is a company that exists to break your legs and sell you a wheelchair and say we helped you. And we've all suffered because of it. Now we have this complicated fork war, and there's multiple versions of Bitcoin, and there's all these conversations where it's like, oh, that's a bunch of shitcoin nonsense. And I'm over here saying like, hey, I'm running policies on nodes that would have been valid in 2009, but I got kicked off for advocating for Bitcoin. So people talk about validating Bitcoin in your home because you really care about transactions. Well, imagine you go against the people that make these decisions and they fork you off the chain for standing up for what you believe Bitcoin to be, and then they're calling you the shitcoiner when they're the ones that made the changes to the system. It's a nightmare.
So we're gonna have a little who won, but I think we have a guy's opinion here. One more question from Terry, just waiting, and then I promise you, Annalise, we'll get off the stage.
Well, there's a lot of conversation with scalability, so I mean, and then we talk about decentralization, and then you got Blockstream involved, so I mean, that kind of muddies the water there at minimum. And you talked about, the return of the idea of peer-to-peer cash, not digital gold. Talk about transactions per second, because how the fuck do you scale, the BTC network when we're having these big, huge delays, and then the costs are escalating? I mean, there's a lot of issues there.
I mean, you guys can see it here.
Real quick, full disclosure, so I do infrastructure in the Bitcoin space. So I build mining operations, hashing operations, we install stuff you wouldn't believe. We run nodes on Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Core, and BSV, just for research and development and all this stuff. I'll tell you right now that the interwoven interdependencies of Bitcoin Core, like for example, the fact that basically nobody changes from default policies, which is why when the mempool fills up, all of a sudden, transaction error, where's my thing? Wasn't it at the mempool an hour ago? No, my transaction is gone. And it's because there's 7,000 people running Raspberry Pis on default settings, and when your RAM gets over a certain amount, it just starts purging stuff out the back door. And you just try to send a $50,000 JPEG across the network, came to a business agreement, we're told that Bitcoin is unstoppable, and your transaction's gone. And it's friggin' nonsense. So 5 to 7 transactions per second and $30 per transaction fees, it's a nightmare. BSV is an example of what Bitcoin was supposed to be. I've seen it do 30,000 transactions a second. Your average fee is going to be around 10,000 for the penny per transaction, regardless of scale.
That's impressive.
That's what Bitcoin was fundamentally capable of in 2009, and has backslid amid this crazy civil war.
I'm going to yield that's amazing. I love it. I want to just introduce you all really quick to my friend Sunny Ray. He is also a legitimate OG and the founder of Uno Coin, India's largest exchange. And he'd like to say one quick thing.
Yeah, 2 seconds.
2 seconds?
No, you
seconds.
Annalise,
Say it.
it's got 30
Is it
seconds.
literally 2 seconds? Network effects? Lightning. It is literally, I started India's first Bitcoin company. It's 10-year anniversary today. Can I get more than 2 seconds? Yeah. Okay, I'm listening. I think Kyle did a great job. But let's have the other side of the argument. How about that? We're all in this room because of Bitcoin. Yeah. Okay? We're in this room. Vitalik's a friend of mine. Anthony's a friend of mine. Ethereum doesn't hold a candle. BSV doesn't hold a candle to Bitcoin. Let's talk about network effects. Okay, first thing first. You talked about. I have 2.5 million customers in India. And this guy's talking about poor people. Let's talk about poor people. Okay, so this is BSV versus Bitcoin. So what's happening on poor people? They're getting poorer. They're getting poorer because they haven't bought into his worldview. My point is it's his worldview. He's living in a bubble. I love it. I've been to Craig, whatever his name is, his party in Toronto. He had 50 ladies all dressed up the same, ran him around like, what, she's seriously? What about lightning?
You're in Miami right now. You know that song?
It's all good. Sunny, thank you. There's no there is no winning and losing. One of the great parts of this whole debate that we can have is exploring and understanding and challenging and growing. Negative entropy and anti-fragile systems are what it is. And because of adoption, because of marketing, this is hot. It's hot. That's my last point. And let's just show love as well to all the maximalists and all the people. We all, at a high level, we all have a shared purpose of recognizing that the existing system has been a tool for authoritarian control, and we're looking for an alternative. People have different views on it, but we can all break bread on that high level, and the different implementations at the lower level can be different, and it's all good. But remember, we can all hug, and we can all give high fives and fist bumps over this mission that we're on to decentralize all the things. So as we leave, like, I love you, I love all of you.